In the journey towards progress, every step counts, and today we take a giant leap by amplifying the voices that have been whispered for too long, the voices of women, the architects of change. In the heart of our community, we bring together the architects, the leaders, the visionaries, the trailblazers. They don't just lead, they inspire. They don't just talk, they ignite conversations that transform. This is more than a gathering, it's a movement where women lift each other higher, where ideas aren't just heard, but celebrated. Because in our stories, there is power. In our experiences, there's resilience. In our conversations, there's revolution. And in our unity, there's a force that moves mountains. Join us as we redefine leadership, reshape the narrative, and illuminate the path for every woman stepping into greatness. Together we rise, together we lead. Welcome to a world where women's voices don't just echo, they resonate. Welcome to Power to Our Women.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Power to Our Women. I'm your host. My name is Paulina Lanko, and I will be with you for the next 1 hour. We will be talking women and money. And as you know, the title for today's talk is The Cost of Love. We at Power to Our Women are greatly honored to have you here. And I just want you to know as we start this session that we do not take your presence for granted, that you are valued. And our mission today really is very simple: to equip you, to empower you, and not just to help you survive, succeed. So what is Power to Our Women? Power to Our Women is a platform that gives all women, both at continental level and at the global level, a platform to bring us together, to have meaningful conversations, that are able to move us forward. So simply put, we believe that when one woman excels, that all the women excel. And we don't just believe in it, but we also take other women with us. And so today, I'm really greatly honored to be joined by one such woman who has done such an amazing job of elevating other women and taking other women with her. And she's known for many things, but one of the things that I love about this good lady is just her humbling story. Really, through grace, she opened up her world and really has journeyed with us, taken everybody with her. And that is very much demonstrated in her socials and in all of you that follow her and the amazing numbers. And there's a few things that, I was very intrigued to find when I was investigating and researching her. And she really has shattered a few myths. And one of them is the fact that, it is possible to actually change mindset when it comes to scarcity and money. That money is not the root of all evil, and that it is indeed possible to be self-sufficient when it comes to money, and importantly, that money is energy. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our host, Just Ivy Africa. Welcome, Ivy.
Thank you. Hey, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's so wonderful to have you. I know it's taken a little bit of time. And as you're very much aware, we did a poll just to ask a few people who they would like to have address them, especially when it comes to the subject of money and women and just financial literacy. and your name really ranked high up there. And so it is indeed a great honor, really, to have you on the show today. And I'm just going to get right to it and ask, who is Just Ivy Africa?
All right. Who is Just Ivy Africa? Funny thing, Paulina, I prepared for every question except that one. I don't know why I always forget to prepare for that one, but what can I say? I always introduce myself different in every forum I'm in. So today I'm gonna say Just Ivy Africa is has stemmed from, I mean, from various people she's met and various experiences she's gone through. So I wear many hats, but today in particular, I wear the hat of a woman who stands for women economic empowerment. I wear the hat of a mother who stands for raising responsible adults. And I'll wear the hat of a daughter, a sister, most importantly, as myself, who loves having fun and making money. Yeah.
So I'm really curious. I mean, this passion for money, financial literacy, and I bet a lot of people out there are very curious, but where did that stem from?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. Years ago, I realized that I was spending a lot of time on social media, consuming content that may not have been adding value to my life. So I decided that if I'm going to spend all this time on this gadget, scrolling and swiping through people's lives, I would make sure that it's something meaningful to me. Again, at the time, I had this yearning to understand money because where I was working, I remember my bosses at the time, it was a startup. I could see the company doing well, and I could see my bosses doing well personally as well. And I was like, how do I get to where they are? And the number one thing to know about making money is you have to learn about money. It's a very boring thing, but it's not something that you can bypass. So I decided to learn about money on social media because a lot of people have a lot to offer, but they just don't have the voice or the platform. So learn about money on social media with my community and take others with me. So literally the passion came from my own need for financial literacy. Yeah.
Okay, wow. And I think in many ways, really, I think that answer really takes us to my next question, because it's easy to say, learn about money, but I think the steps, and I'm hoping that by the time we're done with this session, we can sort of, unpack that. And really, my next question is about how women take charge of finances. And this for me was really informed by the fact that, there's so much negativity when it comes to women and money, women taking charge of money. A lot of it is because of the obvious, the gender finance gap, big debate, big subject, a talk for another day in its own right. The issue of women and savings, when you look at it from a point of men vis-a-vis women, and the fact that, of course, men save more. And again, a lot of data really that confirms that. So really the question is, simply put, can women take charge of their finances?
Hmm. I mean, yes, of course, women can take charge of their finances. I think, in fact, the thing here is to say, how soon should they, or why should they? And I don't even know if it's really a matter of it being man versus woman or anything. It's just a matter of understanding what your goals are in life, where it is that you want to go, what it is that you want to do, when it is you want to retire, and then take charge in that sense. And I think one of the key steps in doing so is one, recognizing that maybe I'm not in charge, maybe I'm not in control, which is what I did when I decided to learn finances. I realized that, oh my gosh, I am financially illiterate. I can read a book, I can speak in front of thousands of people, but I don't know anything about money. So once the first step is recognizing that you do need to make a change in your life, recognizing why it's important, because at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about women is we really value safety and security. So if that's something good for you. And then the third thing, practicing austerity, yeah, that's what it is, and actually moving along. So 100% yes, you can take charge of your finances despite socialization and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I have a quote that I like that says, when women take charge of their finances, the impact is far reaching. They have louder voices, they have more options across all facets of their lives. So really, I think there's a lot to be said. And I just want to flip the script a little bit. And part of this question is really informed by the environment I work in, because we have a lot of young people in tech, young people who are looking to get wealthy like yesterday, not tomorrow. When it comes to money and the Gen Zs specifically, really, it's not about the long haul. So the question really is, can the Gen Z achieve financial mastery before adulthood? And I'll sort of put adulthood quote unquote. And can they assert their financial independence sooner?
Yeah. Good. Thank you for talking about adulthood, because I believe they are adults.
Mhm.
Gen Zs are the ones born 1996. Guys who are watching, you
Mm.
can correct me if I'm wrong. 1996 onwards, till, like, of course, we get to the next generation. Let me tell you what I love about Gen Zs, Paulina, the fact that they have time. I think the youngest Gen Z right now is probably around 26 or 27 years old. Where people like you and I lack in time, where we are trying to play catch up, meaning we're stretching every coin we have. The Gen Z, using whatever amount of money they have or whatever, has the advantage of time, meaning they have enough time to learn about money. They have enough time to probably practice riskier investments, and they have time to research. The beautiful thing with Gen Zs is they've come at an age where information is no longer gate kept. Paulina, you and I, as women, I feel like we didn't have the information that the Gen Zs have now. You literally open your laptop or go to your phone, and even before investing in something particular, you look at the comments, you check reviews. So you also have the advantage of technology, stuff that we didn't have. So if you have all this put together in a beautiful pot, it's a fantastic recipe for success. So yes, they can, if they also understand, they can master their money if they also understand their personalities. It's not necessarily just about everything I've said, but even you as a Gen Z or as a millennial or as a Gen X, whatever, what is your money personality? Because again, once you understand where you're starting from, you can understand where you're going. So
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really one of the main nuggets that I take from this is the fact that we actually don't have to wait until adulthood to have the money conversations. Not anymore. I think from what I hear you say,
Yeah.
there's applications, there's people like yourself who are already putting it out there, whether in platforms or using various technology platforms, just to make sure you reach all the audiences, and the Gen Zs have not been left behind. And I think that's exciting. And hopefully they're all listening and, taking note. And I bet that's the reason why you've got so many of them, just following you. I just want to say that you can send in your questions in advance as we go along. Please make sure you do so. Somebody will populate them and we'll ask them as we go along. We do want it to be an interactive session, so please feel free to do so. Um, I want to go into the next, my next question. And this is about relationships and money, how we as women relate to money. And as I do so, I remember a few statements, and this is more, statements you'll hear used by women. And there's the thing like, oh, I'd rather have problems on a red carpet. That's very popular, there'll be statements like, I remember my grandmother say to me one time when I was growing up and becoming a young lady and starting to work. And she always used to remind me, that you have to put something aside, something little aside, but nobody should know about it, meaning your husband should not know about it. It was for a rainy day. And then I worked in the banking sector, and really, we saw various housewives come in at a particular hour. We actually had a product for them between 10 and noon. And many of them would actually say to you, my husband can never know that this bank account exists. And that's a real thing. So the first question really when it comes to relationships and money is, what are the different ways that men and women relate to money?
Mm, mm, mm. Okay. I want to remind everybody watching this that there's no place you'll ever go to like my pages and see certified personal finance coach. So what I'm going to talk about today will be from two angles, my personal experience, and then two, my observations based on the various discussions I've had with people over time, over the period of my career. So how men versus women or masculine versus feminine energies relate to money, what I have observed is masculine energies are more willing to take a risk. Have I lost Paulina?
No, I can hear you. I can see you.
Oh, okay. Oh, the camera has switched. They,
Yeah.
they're willing to take a higher risk when it comes to their money. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but some people say that one of the biggest killers of men is stupidity. They have gall and audacity, not only with how they play games, how they live their life, but also with their money. So whereas now the more feminine energies are more reserved, risk averse, we even hoard a little bit because we want to see money there for a rainy day. Whereas a masculine energy will invest money for the short term. You're thinking long term, you're thinking your children, your grandchildren, generational wealth. Them, they're thinking, what can I do with this money here and now? So that's one of the ways that they relate to money. I remember I'd written down some notes. The other thing also I've seen is openness in terms of conversing about money. Men are more open. I don't know how that came to be, but then you've seen even for Paulina, for you to say some friends of yours, or you've heard people say, "Oh, shh, you shouldn't. My husband should know about this." Da, 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 da. For me, that's a clear communication problem because why are you hiding these things from a person you're supposed to be sharing your life with? There must be something else that that we're missing, So those are two examples of the ways I've seen that men versus women, I think, relate to money. Wait. I remember I told you I had written notes. Good. The final one. So I've talked about risk tolerance. I've talked about openness and confidence when it comes to money. Sometimes women, you feel like you don't know enough. Then the final one is, which I also spoke about, priorities. We have different priorities when it comes to our energies. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's encouraging. While maybe some of us may not believe it, I think we trust, and we'll hopefully unpack that as we go through a few questions here, that indeed there is hope that men and women can manage money jointly or separately, and that indeed we can do it together. So the second question then would be, when is the right time to have a money conversation with your partner, and is there a right time?
I'm one of those people who like getting back into the dating scene. I think it also depends on the season you're in, because if you're in your 40s and you're dating, you can talk about money on the first date because we don't have time to waste. What are we discussing? I don't want to know your favorite color right now. You tell me what your 5-year plan is, stuff like that. But that's a me thing. Talking about money starts as early as possible. And not just with your partner, because we assume that by the time this person is your partner, you've dated, whatever, they've asked you out of, it should start even when you're trying to look for your partner. Some of these conversations should also stem from yourself. Are you someone who understands money for yourself in a sense? So money conversations don't have to be very harsh. Like, it doesn't have to be you asking someone, "Oh my God, the way I said, give me your 5-year plan." It could be something as simple as trying to find out what someone's money values are. And someone's money values is something that it's like an extension of your personal values. And when you find out more about this person, you realize what it is they hold dear. So if someone tells you one of their money values or one of their values is stemmed around family, if that matches yours, that's a good thing, because those are conversations to have early. You can also try and find out their habits in terms of managing money, because if you ask someone, "Oh, what do you think? What do you think about surviving rainy days?" and they tell you, "Me, I don't even believe in saving," is that something that matches your own values? Because someone doesn't save money necessarily or whatever. What is the means to their end there? Do you believe even in 50-50 as a rule? These are fun conversations you can bring about as early as possible, so you can just see if your values match, because mismatched values can put you in places that you don't really want to be in. So the best time to do this is as early as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it sums up a few things that you know I've come to hold dear personally, and in my own experiences, just and one of the things is that if you're in a relationship, you do need to talk about your aspirations from a point of career, because if you're going to be working, it means you contribute to that kitty. If you're not, the second thing would be, is he happy or is she happy? Because these days, the breadwinner is not necessarily the guy or the girl. It could be either. So should you choose that one of you works, Is one of you ready to be, to have a dependent in that sense? And I think that's important. So the issue of financial dependency, I think we're saying we need to have those conversations. I think some other things could be things like, and I don't know what you think, but maternity, and we never discuss these things, yet I think they're really, really important. And it
Yeah.
probably brings me to the other conversation, and that's the other question, and that is, the master in money. We hear this a lot, or at least I've heard this statement used, and you and I, when we were preparing for this show, talked about it. Do you want to talk a little bit about the master in money relationships and how that sort of plays in?
I think I'd love for you to tell me what the money master is, like from your point of view, so that we can see if we're on the same page. What is the
So,
master of money in a relationship? Yeah.
yeah. So the master of money here is ideally the person who would be, earning the most. So it doesn't
Mm,
mean one person. You probably both are, but one
mm.
could be bringing the bigger chunk home. So that's what I mean in this context.
Oh, because I thought it was, maybe the person who, because you could be earning more, but you genuinely just can't stand to look at Excel sheets. You couldn't be bothered to find out where money goes here and there. So I
Mhm.
assumed that was it, because I've not
Yeah.
heard that term quite a bit. So if we're working with a person who earns more, I think again it just goes back to um, the ways that you guys have decided to manage your money,
Mm.
which is really like four prong. Either it's your money is my money and my money is my money, or there's your money, my money, and our money, or there's your money, my money put into one big pot that makes our money.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Or if you're making more, it could also be from a point of view, pay me an allowance. But we've
Yeah.
understood the different roles that we're going to play in the home so that I can quote unquote earn that allowance. So that's one thing that you is good for people to understand. The other one I think would be um, people's financial archetypes, like people's money personalities, because you could be the money master, but maybe who you are is someone who's extremely into maybe caregiving, or you're a caretaker in terms of your archetype, meaning you might not have a lot of fun, meaning you might be a little bit guarded. That means you know that the type of partner you need is someone more open, more free. So things like that. What works for you best as the money master, or the one who makes more? Because you could also be making more, but you know very well you're not in this to pay someone else's way.
Mm.
So what makes most financial sense for you or for your partner in that sense? I think that's what people could, and of course practicing kindness. If you're the one making more money,
Mm.
what point can you reach where it stops? It doesn't touch on resentment because the other person is not bringing in what you're bringing in. So I think usually when it comes to money, Paulina, I always say it's not a money issue, a communication issue, more likely than not. So how do you communicate around that scenario?
Okay, very interesting. And actually, we have a question from Kirimi, so I'll throw it in now. How should like to know your money philosophy. What's your
Hmm.
money philosophy?
Again, I think it's something that changes. Um, so, like maybe even up until recently, I would tell you my money philosophy is all about mindset. If you have the right mindset, or when it comes to money, that's all you need. I would also have told you don't focus too much on cutting expenses. Focus on making more money. But now, recently, I can say my money philosophy is it's not one size fits all. What I want with my life, or what I want with my money, or what I want with my wealth is very different from someone else, or from what someone else wants. And you also always need to inject the humanity into it, in knowing that what Ivy wanted 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, Ivy wanted to build a gigantic mansion in the farm or blah, blah, blah. But that has changed over time, meaning her philosophy has also changed over time. So I definitely say it's not one size fits all. It just do a lot of discovery when it comes to that. And right now, what I'm working towards is having enough money. Enough for me to put down my pen and not work a day in my life. Enough for me to tell certain people who'd be offering me a bagload of money, no, I don't want to do this with you. I'm okay. So my philosophy has changed a lot over time. Maybe give me a few more
Yeah,
months to tell you what my current philosophy is.
yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting. Um, when somebody's going through a major life event, this could be preparing to have a child, or maybe they've just had a divorce or on their way to have a divorce. How do we navigate the money issues during those times? Your
Mm,
new experience.
new experiences and money issues. Maybe I can be very specific to maybe the children issue or maybe the divorce issue. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So whenever this thing hits you, from the moment you know something is about to happen, or you get the information, or even just get the inclination that something might happen, the planning should start there and then around money.
Mm,
And sometimes when it comes to children, it's not even a matter of I know I want a child. It's a matter of you're sexually active, you're not on any contraceptive or anything like that. So you know it might likely happen. So in your mind, at the back of your mind, you need to know how to plan in case a child comes to be. So that's what I would say about children. There's like a formula. Like when it comes to children, at that point in time is when you start probably tracking your expenses, because you will need all the extra that you require. So if the type of person who buys coffee for 150 Kenya shillings every day, maybe that's some point where you need to cut that out. That's a good time to also look back at things like your health insurance. How does it work? Is it working for you when it comes to that child? I remember when I was looking for schools for my kids to join, I what the lesson I picked up was I was in those schools with pregnant mothers, or mothers whose children were even maybe 2 months old. That's how early those ladies were trying to figure out school fees. Meaning, like when I sit here as Ivy, I know where school fees for the next 1 year is coming from. I'm a year ahead, basically. Always think 5 steps ahead. So I'm a year ahead. That's another way to look at it. Also when we're pregnant, or I'm saying this because I was pregnant, but when women are pregnant, the other thing that they might not look at is, you need to plan for the worst. What if you don't make it out of that journey alive? What if you don't make it out sane? What's going to happen? You might be very wealthy now, but carrying a child or birthing a child completely changes you. So that's a good time to speak to a lawyer, think about a will, think about a trust. There's lots of things that you can think about when it comes to planning your money around having children. There's a lot, and there's a lot of forums on social media or online that can help with that. When it comes to divorce, my theory is pretty simple. I always say plan beforehand. I mean, nowadays prenups are pretty good to have. So before the divorce, at least you've had a prenup that's going to tell you how it is that you're able to segregate your money or anything like that. And then again, just invest in a good lawyer, because you know very well there's terms like matrimonial property that are going to come along. You're going to say, I brought in 30 acres of land, you brought in only 1 acre of land. What are we going to do about this? Like, what's going to happen? So the best thing would be to just get a good lawyer. Divorce is interesting. Yeah, like, get a
yeah.
good lawyer.
Just a little bit curious, looking at our, I'm not sure whether to say whether it's our African context or our Kenyan context.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, and I see somebody else saying that preparing for the worst is so important. Is there any simpler way to prepare for, that child? Let's assume I can't afford a lawyer. Yes, we know we're speaking to a professional woman, to somebody who's probably, a little bit more equipped in terms of the knowledge, but, the resources may not be there. Are there simpler ways just to ensure that you are prepped for it? Can I do a simple plan? Is there any way around it, if at all? Just out of curiosity,
This is prepping for which scenario, for
whether it's
example?
the prepping to have the baby, maybe I
Mm,
don't have a lot of money, but I do
mm,
want to make sure I give them the best start to life as much as possible. And let's
mm,
assume I'm going through a divorce, or there's one coming up, because more
mm.
often than no one wants coming up. How do I prep if I can't afford an expensive lawyer? Are there ways to get around that? Or really that's it? This is the way.
No, 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 no. I mean, it doesn't always have to be expensive. That's not the way
Mm.
to go about it. The thing with marriage is, if you're already involving the government in your relationship, you always have to have an exit plan. In marriage, in friendship, in any form of relationship, you're going in. What's your way out? So you really should have thought about that beforehand. But when it comes to, let's say, you're having a baby and you might not have all the money in the world, start with where you are, which is why I said step one for someone like that would be to track their expenses. Track your expenses. See, remember when you're putting money into a bucket, sometimes if there's a hole at the bottom of the bucket, you need to be able to shut that out. Where is your money seeping from, for example? Then start working with budgeting. The thing about budgeting or conscious spending is you don't have to have a lot of money. You can budget for literally maybe 5,000 Kenya shillings in a month, but you have to practice following that budget from the onset, so that by the time the baby comes, you've already gotten in tune of certain habits. Yeah, so it's not a matter of I don't have all the money in the world, but I still want the best for them. Um, and yeah, and what else? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Track your spending, do a very interesting conscious spending plan. When it comes to shopping, you don't have to do retail. See how it is that you can shop in bulk, that type of thing. Even when it comes to tools, you don't have to download apps. You can just keep a book. Keep a book. What is it that you can do to sell maybe your knowledge so that you can make more money? How can you not only get a source of income, but a sustainable source of income? Because it's going to be a lie for me to tell people that children are not expensive. They take your money, they take your emotion, they take your time. So those are the three things that you need to be budgeting for at that point in time. And then if you're not
Yeah.
able to take care of that child at the time, please get some contraception so that you can, it's not about quantity. Oh my God, I've always wanted to have 5 children, but you can't afford to even keep the one child happy. So it's not about quantity, but about quality. So you need to have those conversations with yourself and say, okay, I'm here. This is the step I can take, but to make sure that I don't get into this issue again, I
Yeah.
can also take another step. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I think this sort of dovetails very well into really my last question on relationships and money. And we hear a lot about the single tax, and there's too many couples, especially the young ones who, are coming together, moving together for economic distribution. They do it too fast without really giving thought. What's your advice to the young people, or to anyone actually, not just young people who's doing this?
Um, Again, remember I told you my philosophy has changed. So like 3 years ago, I would say, please don't move in together, stay at home, because you'd still be practicing the same economies of scale. So I'm guessing singles pay more generally when it comes to utilities, resources, facilities, blah, 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 because they lack the economies of scale. So I'm assuming they move in together, do all these things so that they can split their costs into two. So I would have told you, no, don't do that, stay home, blah, blah, blah. But again, not one size fits all. There's no formula to how life is being done or how life should be done. I'm not here to tell people, please don't move in with your boyfriend. Honestly, some of these things, if you've made the decision in your mind, the only way you'll be able to see that it was a good versus a bad decision is once you go through it and once you grow, through it. So I would just tell you, yeah, there's no formula. In fact, if you're moving into to practice economies of scale, maybe try looking for roommates, not necessarily a partner that you've not gotten married to yet. There's always all sorts of things that could happen. So it's not one size fits all. I'm all for saving money. So yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's also, again, it just goes back, I think, to some of the advice that you gave earlier.
Yeah.
And that's just among the few things that you need to talk about with your partner. That's the issue of your career journey,
Yep.
because it's one thing to come together, but then
Yeah.
once you're in there, then what? So you've got to have the conversation about your career. Where do you see that going? Children, so maternity, who's going to pay for that should it happen? Financial dependency or not, who's paying the bigger bill or who's not, and then just managing funds jointly. Are we
Yeah.
ready? Are we really comfortable to do so? Are we ready to be transparent? So I
Exactly.
think that's really important when people do come together.
And
Um,
also, Paulina, to add on to that, it's not to confuse someone that you're getting married to and decided to do life with a boyfriend that you met 5 days ago.
yeah.
Sometimes, even in finances, we say you need to, yes, money appreciates speed, but you need to be patient and you need to be paranoid. So good things take time to build and to materialize or to bear fruit. So also be patient with yourself and in that relationship. Practice use of logic and not emotion, even if you're in a very highly emotional state. Ask yourself logical questions that also go back to your values. Is this too good to be true? 5 days in, they want to get married. You have to be able to ask yourself all those things. A boyfriend versus a husband or a wife or a lifelong partner are very different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I, advice like, wait, you, you know, before we would be told, my generation, and I'm not going to talk about my age here, but really you were told, wait until the right person came along, that when you said yes, really it was for quote unquote all the right reasons, it was marriage for life. So that conversation would have been about a lifelong partner, and not
Yeah.
just that we're coming together for economic purposes. So I guess it's really, and I can see somebody saying patience, just that patience. That's really
Hmm.
what we were trained to do, but it's changed. The times
Hmm.
have changed. Things are happening very differently. So it's interesting. And I think those are good nuggets of wisdom just to take with them, even as they're, sort of navigating the waters of the economic distribution. And again, the
Yeah.
case of single tax. I want to go to a subject which is a little sensitive, but I think it's important. And I bring it up in the understanding that full understanding that there's probably no research that's yet been done on this particular subject in this country. I'm not even sure whether it's been done in Africa, but it's an important one. And a lot of us as women have probably been through this, been subjected to it, being subjected to it, and maybe it's not yet been given a name from a context of Kenyan. And this is the issue of economic and financial abuse.
Mm.
And let me just qualify that, because when we say that, it can be easily misunderstood. And
Mm.
again, I'll give a statement that we women tend to use a lot. I've had my friends use it. I've got aunts who've used it. I had a grandmother who shared with us her story, and she lived her entire life in a very abusive marriage, physically abusive, financially abusive. And her answer every time, and I remember I say to her one time, why did you stay all those years? And her
Mm.
answer was simple: I was trapped financially. So maybe just to pose it to you, what is economic or financial abuse to
Mm.
you, what you've known so far as you're doing financial literacy?
Mm. Wow. I was trapped financially. That's interesting.
Mm,
Um, to me, and thank you for making sure that it's what is it to me.
mm,
Um, it's about control. It's about exerting power in your pocket. So controlling how you spend money, controlling where you spend your money, controlling even how you make your money. And I think financial abuse is probably a small segment of economic abuse.
mm,
Even controlling your time. Um, I give you an allowance, but I need to know exactly what you've spent it doing. So it's about exerting control. Sometimes it can even go to a point of stealing money, coercing you to spend money in ways or in places that you really don't want to. And again, like, as we've said, for economic abuse, it goes to the point of controlling even whether you can make money or not. When it comes to work, even controlling the types of jobs that you can apply for. If the person who is abusing you sees that you're about to get a job that might entail a lot of travel, they tell you no, because you have to be here. Yet it's a better opportunity for you. So
mm,
that's what I would say financial abuse is. It's an aspect of economic abuse that sits in the realms of controlling how you do with your money or with your time. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I think simply
Sorry.
put, it's really
And to
using.
add on, yeah, to add on to what that she said that she was trapped financially. I remember one of my mentors told me that the moment you have no finances in a relationship is the moment you
Mm,
lose all power, because you have to be silent. So, and she was telling me this in the point of, as a woman, you have to make sure that whenever you're going into a long-term partnership or whatever, you come with your own form of power to make sure that control is not exerted forcibly. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
Paulina, you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, just summing it up. So what you're saying is that, it's where finances is used as a tool to control somebody. Really, that is
Exactly.
what you're saying, isn't it? And
Exactly.
and I can see a lot of really good questions coming through. So let me get this particular subject out of the way, and I can ask one or two of the ones that have come through. How does one survive the economic abuse?
I wish we could hear from someone who has survived economic abuse. I feel like
Mm,
they'd be able to tell that story better,
mm,
because mine would have to come from maybe the things that I've learned or the things that I've seen. So please, to that person, remind me to figure out people who've survived economic abuse. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the few times that I would tell someone to try and recognize the little ways that they can start earning their power back. So if your power was taken from you in the sense of you are not able to earn money, but let's say you get an allowance, is it that you'd be able to keep a bit of that allowance and save it towards you being able to get out of that situation or that scenario? The other way, of course, of getting out is, do you recognize that you're in a financially abusive relationship, or you think that that's just how things are? You're in this relationship where you're being coerced to spend money, but you think, oh, I'm growing with my partner. This is just how it is. It is okay for them to put all the bills in my name. It is okay for them to refuse to contribute towards household bills or something like that. So, do you first of all recognize that you are in a financially abusive relationship? That way, you'll be able to set a way forward. I always also ask people to see how you can join communities to see how people have been able to get out of that situation or of that scenario. Then finally, I think the other thing I would say is financial abusive relationships never work in isolation. There's always another form of abuse that goes towards it. So you might need to seek professional help to heal your trauma. You need to be able to forgive yourself and seek some professional help on healing the trauma that abuse has caused you. Because if you don't move from a point of recognizing I need to heal, then maybe there'd be a problem there. But for that, I would have loved to hear from someone who has survived financial or economic abuse. How did they get out? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I think some of the things that we saw come up actually when we were doing our research and we had a
Yeah.
chance to speak to a few different people, me and my team, was that people need to normalize having conversations about money,
Mm,
as high as possible. Because
mm,
then if you do, it can be a very sticky and difficult conversation. And I think like we've discussed today, a lot of people don't want to disclose because it
yeah.
depends on the type of relationship you have. And then the second thing I think that stood up was that what we observe in childhood, we perpetuate and we
Mm,
normalize.
mm,
If my mother probably went through the economic or financial abuse, there's
yeah.
a high likelihood I might condone it because
Yeah.
she did, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think we're talking about Gen Zs here. There's probably the issue of the skill building the skill and the confidence for them to be able to talk about money and money issues, with their better half or with
Mm,
their partners, or just to normalize it, but just
yeah.
build that skill and confidence. And hopefully we're doing some of that, today. Yeah. So I just want to jump a little bit to some questions which are coming through. And Gloria asks, what would you say are the basics in financial literacy? Or rather,
Mm,
where do I start my financial journey?
mm. I think even just you being here, that's a good start. It means you are seeking knowledge. It means you're hungry and you're ready to better yourself, for example. Basics of financial literacy, from what I remember and from what I was suffering from, there's certain basics that are spoken about everywhere all the time in the industry, which is what I had said, conscious spending or budgeting. I don't like using the word budget because it limits me. Because I remember like in clients with a budget versus clients who can spend. You don't want someone with a budget. You want someone with big, large coffers. So understanding how to budget for the money that you already have, understanding how to track where your money is going. And one of the things that people don't say here, which I really want to emphasize on, is I'm going to say it in Kiswahili, then translate. We say usidharau pesa ndogo. One of the things that I used to, because I'm talking from a personal experience, that I used to suffer from was usidharau pesa ndogo means don't look down on small money. So for me, um, and I know for many of us in this forum, things like understanding your bank fees. You have a bank account or you have three bank accounts, but you don't understand the fees in transacting. You don't understand the fees in servicing that account, for example. You use M-Pesa or mobile money. You don't understand how much it is to send money from one place to the other and seeing maybe it would be cheaper for you to go a different route. You borrow a lot from online applications and you don't understand how much it costs you. So you think it's small money, like transaction fees, things like that are small money. But when you do tracking properly, you realize they really, really add up. Another way Another thing around financial literacy that people don't talk about is things around leaving money on the table. So again, I said there's basics that people will know, but today I'm going to try and give you basics that I've learned along the way. So you might have a habit of leaving money on the table. That means, let's say you're employed, and your employer offers you, what do you call it? Pension, but you're not taking it. This is free money from your employer, but you've not registered to get pension because I don't know why you're leaving that money at the table. You want to learn how to invest money, but you're going for instruments that have very high, for example, tax rates. These instruments you invest in where tax is off the table. So again, you're not leaving money on the table. So there's basics like that that I will tell people around. And then, of course, I had mentioned application loans and things like that. Another aspect for me in financial literacy that I learned maybe too late was good versus bad debt. Understanding how debt works. This plant is in my face. Understanding how debt works and how to manage debt is something else entirely that really works in financial literacy. Oh God, it's goddamn plan. But yeah, there's many of those. The basics is budgeting, whatever. Oh, and then finally, another basic for me that people don't talk about is making money. You might think that making money is just as simple as your salary or the revenue from your business or the profit from your business. But if you've put money into, let's say, a basic savings account in an MMF, that interest is a source of income that you're not talking about. If you've invested in a bond, that interest is.
Yeah. Mm-mm. We lost Ivy. Can't see him.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah. So lots of basics, and then attend forums like these, pick up a book, pick up a podcast, go to YouTube, but also do your due diligence, which is the final basic on financial literacy I'm going to let you know about. Do your due diligence. Remember, practice patience and paranoia. So by the time you're moving, it is intentional and not rushed. You know, even in Kenya, Paulina, you know, we have the quail egg theory. One person did quail egg, the whole of Kenya did quail eggs. So you need to practice due diligence so that you're not suffering with quail eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have a really good one here before I give you your last set of questions, but this is from Brian. And by the way, Brian, thank you so much. We do celebrate male allies in this program, so very excited. So in terms of financial planning, this is what he asks. What edge do Gen Zs have over millennials and Gen X and how can they take advantage of it? Let me ask that again. What edge do Gen Zs have over millennials and the Gen X, and how can they take advantage of it, and vice versa?
I think I answered this in the beginning. Maybe Brian wasn't here. I said for me, one of the biggest advantages Gen Zs have is time. So you're younger, you have more energy to learn, to understand your risk profile, and you have more time to learn. The other advantage you have is you have tools open and available to you. At that time, I'd mentioned the internet. The internet, for example, has born, let's say, even robo advisors. I have a partnership with a company called Nduvu Tech, and they're basically a robo advisor. Because you're young, you understand technology more. It's very easy for you to pick up your phone and literally invest in the global markets in minutes because you have the tools already provided for you. So those are the advantages that I would say you have. And also when it comes to time, it means that you have enough time to make mistakes and learn from them. You see me right now, I can't afford mistakes. Not really, not with my age and not with my responsibilities when it comes to my two kids. So no. And of course, you have millennials and the Gen X's paved the way for you. So you have a shortcut. You know what worked, because sometimes when it comes to money, even though we've said it's not one size fits all, there are certain formula that are going to work for everybody. You know, understanding how to track your spending works for everybody. So you have a shortcut because we cleared the bush for you and we've put out that information for you to be able to access. So vice versa, meaning the advantages that us older people have, perhaps this is where maybe our experience comes in, which is what I had said earlier about giving you guys a shortcut. The fact that we have experience means we are able to practice patience more, because we can tell you, we've been there, we've done that, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. We are more self-aware because we've been alive longer. So we just know, you know what? I get it. Crypto is big right now, but it just doesn't work for me and I'm okay. So we are more
Yeah.
steadfast in our decisions that way. So it could be also a disadvantage because we might
Okay. Not sure if we've lost her.
this keep happening. Oh
Yeah.
no. Yeah,
Not
because
sure.
you have time, you're able
Yeah.
to take up risk. And then because you have time, you're able to meet as many people as possible, learn as many things as possible, get mentored, that type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, are there ways, or what can you advise on how people can improve on their financial discipline? Just a few basics.
How to
Mm.
improve on your financial
Yeah.
discipline.
Let's
Again,
share last. Yeah. Mm.
okay. Again, I'll speak from a personal perspective in terms of when I realized you have to figure out your triggers. Like discipline, okay, let's define discipline for a bit. Discipline is saying you're going to do something and doing it. Like you do it. I'm going to be somewhere on time, you're there on time. I'm going to put aside this amount of money, I'm going to put aside this amount of money. So what is it that comes in and shifts your goalpost? You have to figure out those triggers. If it's, let's say, things like peer pressure, you need to ask yourself, what would I lose or what would I gain from stepping aside from this crowd at this moment that requires me to go out right now and spend my money, or requires me to go and go on a holiday that I've not budgeted or accounted for? So number one, what are your goals? We always say, what, where do you want your money to go? Where do you want your money to take you? Because if you don't have goals, this is what I suffered from. I used to have a lot of savings. I had millions in my early 20s. But because I had no goals, everybody else's expenses and expenditures became mine. A friend is in need, it became my problem. A family member is in need, it became my problem. Whereas if I had certain goals and I knew I need to have 10M by this time so that I can build my house, for example, if other problems come in, I tell people genuinely, I can't afford this. The money is there, but really, truly, it's not there. So have a very clear-cut, smart goal, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Have a smart goal to guide your discipline. Then break down this big goal into small goals. So right now you might be thinking $1 million is huge, but if you break down $1 million, you can get 200K from here, 300K from interest, from blah blah blah. You'll know that you need to acquire a new skill so you can make more money. So things like that. Then also automate as many of your systems as possible. So if you have a salary or money comes in, put a standing order, pop. So as soon as it comes in, you don't even see it. It just goes to a locked account immediately, and it's locked for a certain period of time. Then once you've honed discipline is when you can move towards investing and that type of thing. I hope I've
Yeah.
made sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of nuggets there for everybody listening. And I believe answers a lot of the questions I can see coming in. So just quickly, savings versus investments. What's the difference?
Saving, putting money away, maybe not even necessarily for a rainy day, but it's just storage of money. Investment is creation of value. So saving for me is storage of value. Investment is creation of value. So when you save, your money might not necessarily do much for you, but when you invest, your money literally works for you. So great
Yeah.
investors get paid by their money, but great savers have a place where they can access money just in case of a rainy day or in case they want to make a purchase or something like that. In simple
Yeah.
terms, that's what yeah.
I think really very well put. So let's get a little personal as we wind down. Speaking of self-love, what does financial freedom and financial well-being mean to you as Just Ivy Africa? What does it mean to you?
Financial freedom. Remember earlier I said I'm moving towards making enough money to decide, I want to go on holiday, I'm going to go, and I will still have money coming into my bank account at the end of the day, or blah 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 blah. Financial freedom for me is just mostly about affording me time, and affording access. Time and access. It's about affording me peace of mind. I don't have anxiety for what's going to happen next month, I don't have any bills that surprise me. That's not a surprise. That's done. That's sorted. And I have the time to do what truly matters. Stay with my kids, enjoy time alone, have fun, that type of thing. And your financial well-being, I think, is a matter of this. It's something I posted years ago that tells you your bank account balance is a depiction of who you are now. It's not a depiction of what you want to be or who you want to be. Da, da, da. So if you're looking at your accounts and they're constantly on negative, you're paying higher fees to manage that account than what is coming in. January you have $10K, February you have $8K, and it just keeps going down, down, down. Nothing is going up. Your financial well-being might not be very, very good. So that's what I'd be able to say. Is the money growing? Are you making smarter decisions? Are you patting yourself on the back, or are you constantly feeling, this is not working out? That for me also encompasses what financial well-being is about.
Yeah, I think really well put. And what is the best piece of advice you have received about money? And what is the worst piece of advice you've received about money?
Worst, I think I'll start with the worst piece of advice or something that someone has told me about money. There's no money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Like there's no money out there. Like I have to die on a cross to make money. That it's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard to make money. That was the worst because it put me in a scarcity mindset, man. Because I walked around constantly feeling, oh my God, if I don't bleed making money, it's there's a problem. If I don't have a struggle story, Paulina. You know, wealthy people sometimes, oh my God, I grew up poor. My business started in a garage. I couldn't afford a meal. One of the worst things I was made to believe is that if you don't have a struggle story, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's not meaningful. So for me, right now, I think I'm constantly thinking it's easy to make money. I always say it's easy to make money. Keeping it is where now you need to employ some form of discipline, blah, blah. But right now, I walk around saying it's easy to make money. The best thing I was told about money was by one of my mentors. His money philosophy is that he just doesn't save any money. He tells me, you cannot put me in a position, Ivy, where I make £500,000 and then I'm expected to keep £50,000. He asks me, why? Why am I doing that? Why can't I just make more to get to where it is that I need to get to and stop? Why are you telling me to save money? Here's the thing. He understands his money values. He understands his personality. He's an extreme risk taker in that he knows if he lost everything, he'd have a place to start. So I'm not saying follow that guy's advice, but why I loved it was because it was so different and opposite from what it is we're constantly taught. Save money for rainy day. Keep money here. Oh my God. Da, da, da. The guy was just like, no, nope. If I'm not in a position to make money, that doesn't work for me. So that's what I would be able to say at this moment. Yeah.
So knowing what you know, and I'm always curious to hear this because they say success leaves clues. So knowing what you know today, looking at the far you've come, just the empowerment that you're spreading across, not just in Kenya, but across the continent, what does success mean to Just Ivy Africa today?
I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she said something that really resonated. She said simply, so long as you're sleeping well at night, like you're sleeping soundly, nothing is bothering you, nothing is keeping you up at night, you're not getting nightmares, so long as the decisions you've made and whatever it is that you're doing does not keep you up at night, I think that's what I would deem success to me. Because you see, someone's goals versus yours might be very different. So you might be looking at someone maybe doesn't have the same size house as you, doesn't drive the same car, but they're extremely happy and they're sleeping at night because their conscience is clean and they're okay. Even if their conscience is not clean, they're okay. So I think success for me is sitting with yourself when cameras are off, when nobody's watching, nobody's looking, nobody's trying to talk to you, and you're okay and you're good and you're not. It's There's no figure attached to it, nothing. It's just here in this moment where I am now, I'm successful because I'm okay. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that really wraps it up beautifully for us, just in terms of respecting everybody's time. And I do like what Faith Beth is saying. It's a mindset. We've had a lot of great input from a lot of people. We are so grateful to all of you. And I do want to wrap this up just saying this, that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another, that we are strongest when we cheer each other on. Let's remember that. Stay tuned. Again, we as PTOW, that's Power to Our Women, are here to journey with you. We have this platform. Follow us, follow Just Ivy Africa. And we're really looking forward to having more empowering, impactful, and hopefully life-changing series in days to come. Just Ivy Africa, we cannot thank you enough. That's me and my team. It's really been an honor and a pleasure. And you and I are actually going to go into a breakout room as we come to the end. Our social media handles are all up there. We've put them, and you'll also see them in the poster that's going to come up. Again, really gratitude to one and all. Everybody who tuned in, your presence, your time, we really don't take it for granted. And we invite you to continue journeying with us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Just Ivy Africa.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Okay.